Hello everyone and welcome to a subcompact SUV with a big SUV energy, which is this 2024 Chevrolet Trailblazer RS. So in today's video, we're going to be finding out if this Trailblazer manages to rise to the top in an already crowded subcompact SUV segment. Now the new Chevrolet Trailblazer is offered in 4 different variants and lots of different combinations. So the basic variants start from LS, LT, then Active and the RS variants. So the LS variant is offered in front wheel drive, all wheel drive. LT variant is offered in front wheel drive, all wheel drive. The Active variant is all wheel drive, and also the RS variant in all wheel drive. And the LS variant and the LT variant in front wheel drive is offered in 1.2 liter turbocharged engine with a CVT transmission, whereas all the other models are offered in 1.3 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder with 9-speed automatic gearbox. So yeah, lots of combinations that you can pick and choose, whichever suits your requirements. So let me begin from the RS, which is the top of the line variant. So you have this big black glossy grille out here, another separate grille on the top, but it's a blocked one just for the continuity, and this blacked out Chevrolet badging, which is only for the RS variant of this Trailblazer with the chrome around 8, and then there is this dark chrome grille that wraps around these lights. So these lights are the DRLs on the top. They also convert into the turn signals, whereas the main headlights are given at the bottom, so they are at the lower level. There is also an RS badging in red one given on the left side, and there is also this normal plastic bumper at the bottom with carbon fiber design on it. It's not really carbon fiber, it's just the design on it, and then more grille given at the bottom in normal plastic. If you're not a fan of this Chevrolet Trailblazer in terms of its looks, but I really like the looks of this thing, but if you still don't like this one, then you can check out its other cousin, which is the Buick Encore GX. I've done a detailed review of that. You can click on a pop-up banner out here and you can watch the review of that, which is the same car based on this Chevrolet Trailblazer. A lot of elements are shared across, and underneath this sits a 1.3 liter 3-cylinder turbocharged engine with 9-speed automatic gearbox, and there is also a camera mounted on the front glass that is used for the adaptive cruise control and various safety system, front collision warnings, and also the front pedestrian warnings, and also the following distance, all of that which is shown on your driver's display. So the RS variant of the Trailblazer comes in two-tone body color options, which is why there is black on top and the red color on this thing, and on the sides there are these 19-inch dual tone alloy rims, whereas on the Active variant there are 17-inch alloy rims, and the LS and the LT offers in 17 and 18-inch options. And the basic difference between the Active and the RS variant is that the RS variant is much more sportier, so which is why you would see a lot of accents in red and black, and the RS badging, blacked out grills, whereas in the Active variant it's much more off-road design. So they have skid plates, then the tires are much more thicker, and the rim size is smaller. The suspensions are also oriented towards off-roading, so they are much more on the harder side, whereas this is much more on the sportier side. There is also this skirting on the fenders so that they can protect your bumper and the fender, and then this thick skirting at the bottom covers the entire door and the frame, so that the frames don't get dirty, especially during the snowy days when there is a lot of mud and dirt around, so that doesn't stick, and then your pants stay clean. Then there's a subtle line that goes till the back and then sort of arches in the rear, more plastic skirtings on the side in the rear too with 19-inch alloy rims, and there are brake disc and calipers, all 4 on this thing, with black color Chevrolet badging on this one. Everything is blacked out on this thing, even the side mirrors. These are the blacked out side mirrors. They are non-power foldable, they are power adjustable, they have blind spot warning inside it. There's no turn signal or anything. There's normal rubber strip around these windows, and these thick blacked out rails on the top with panoramic sunroof, which is an optional extra given on this Trailblazer RS. And when you come to these doors, these are smart keyless entry doors, and the meaning of smart is like if I walk away with the key in my pocket, the car would automatically lock the car on this thing. So it does that. You saw the beeping, it just does that automatically. So yeah, these are all the options, which is why this is a top spec option on this Trailblazer RS. This comes with the all-wheel drive system, and as I said, there is a difference between the suspension setup compared to the active variant. So the active variant is much more off-road oriented, this is much more sporty. Now in the rear, there is full set of LED tail light cluster provided, turn signals, reversing lights, even the brake lights, all of it is completely LED on this. There is also a small spoiler given on this thing in black color, which has an LED strip to that too. There is also a wiper given for the rear glass, and then blacked out Chevrolet badging with the chrome lining around it, and then this Trailblazer all-wheel drive in black color badging and the RS badging in the red, and again normal plastic bumper at the bottom, a bit more sportier in terms of its design, and then it's also got this carbon fiber texture to it. Yeah, there is also dual chrome exhaust tips, and these are the real exhaust tips and not the fake ones. And in terms of the rear visibility, it's actually pretty decent because this glass is vertical, so you get a good amount of visibility from the rear view glass. And in order to open the rear trunk door, you can even swipe your legs if there are a lot of shopping bags in your hand, or there's a button given here. You press that and open the boot door, which is a motorized boot door. There are scuff plates given in the back so that you don't damage your bumper in here, and the space in the back when the rear seats are folded up, you can put 25.3 cubic feet of luggage in the back, and it's pretty even. There are no arches or unnecessary plastic bits that obstruct the overall boot space in the back. And not just that, this boot floor right now is at the bottom. You can even adjust it, and the reason being that when you fold down the rear seats, I'm going to come to that too, but there's a bit of a step otherwise. But if you put that boot floor on the top side, then there is nearly flat floor after that. There are pocket spaces on both the sides, a boot light given on this side. There are also tying points so that you can tie your heavier luggage. Now the rear seats are foldable in a ratio of 60:40. You can do that if you have long arms, or you have to go from the rear seats and do it. When the rear seats are folded down, you can put 54.4 cubic feet of luggage in the back. And now once I remove this boot floor and adjust it to the top, you will see why it all makes sense. Now it's literally flat, and also flatter with the seats in the back too. So the boot floor has no step now once I raise this boot floor from the back. So there is another cool feature. So that one is that you can even fold down the front passenger seat, which is obviously when there are no passengers. And in order to do that, you can fold down that completely, and it falls down, and now it's completely even space. So if there are very long objects, you can put it right up till that dashboard. That is a pretty convenient feature. So that way, this boot space is massive on this Trailblazer RS, with so much of options available to customize the space setup in the back. It's actually quite spacious, and so much of adjustability. And not just that, there is also a temporary spare wheel that sits underneath the boot floor, and once you are done, you can press the button on this because it's a motorized trunk door. So the RS variant of the Trailblazer offers a very sporty interior, but the interior layout in general is identical in all the model lineups. It's just the few bits here and there that's just different, like these accents given around on the interior on this RS package. So let me begin with the material quality. So there is plastic dashboard everywhere on the top, even this covering on the driver's display. Door cards on the top are plastic, at the bottom it's plastic. On the sides where are going to be resting hands, that's leather covered, but even that's on the harder side. These switches have more plastic. Only on the inside bits there is leather covered red color stitching, and on top of that there are these red color accents with the piano black plastic that's to add more sportiness to this RS variant. Even on the dashboard out here, it's soft material with the red color stitching, and on top of that there is this black color plastic trim, again meant to look like carbon fiber. On top of that there is this red color accent. Even on the driver side, the same thing. At the bottom out here, it's normal plastic. Around this gear shifter, it's all glossy black plastic. Around the air conditioning switches, glossy black plastic. And then these couple of screens for your driver's display, infotainment screen. This handrest is also soft, but yeah, not that squidgy, and actually sits quite high up compared to the gear lever positioning. So I'm going to come to that. Then there is this meshed grille given on the sides to add much more sportiness to the interior. Glove box is again normal plastic, and these seats are in leather with the piping, red color piping, and it's a dual fabric. So the top bit is leather, and on the sides is fabric with the red color stitching with the RS badging. Lots of RS badging, by the way, given on this Trailblazer. One is on the headrest, and not just that, even on the side of the seats there is RS badging. There's RS badging on the gear shifter. So yeah, lots of ways to remind you what you're driving. But yes, the material quality is a mixed bag, I would say. And also the steering wheel is one of my favorite bits on this Trailblazer, because it's a sporty wheel, flat bottom, and it's half perforated with leather covered red color stitching. So yeah, very nice to grip and drive. Definitely makes you feel you're driving a sporty car that ways. But yeah, that's just the steering side of it. But otherwise the rest of the materials could have been improved in some areas, like the door cards, where the top bits are all like plastic. Even the dashboard is all plastic to make it feel a little more different than the other variants. Now when it comes to the driver's display, there is an 8-inch digital driver's display given on this Trailblazer RS, and in terms of the appearance, it's very crisp, it's just very bright, and it's very colorful. The colors are very vivid and crisp, and it's just that there's just a bit of animation going on, which is why it delays the functioning of the screen. It makes it a bit laggy, especially when you have the RPM counter and you try to rev. So it takes a little while to match, and not just that, even because this is a turbocharged engine, so it takes a little while to rev too. But in terms of the operations, it's very simple. And first of all, there is a lot of information that you see at the bottom, the odometer. Then there is the two-wheel drive, all-wheel drive option, what drive you are in. You are either in park, neutral, reverse, or the drive. Then the middle bit where you can change the display on that, and there is a scroller dial given on the right side, so you have to long press it. That's where the trick is, because you may think there's nothing going on, but that's where it is. You have to press it for a little over a second. Then gauge 1, gauge 2 design, long press it again to gauge 3, which is much more like a flatter 3D type of design. Yeah, which is why I said there's a lot of graphics going on. Vehicle info, you can change that too. I'm going to come to that. Then the infotainment takes a little while to load. Then clean interface, if you don't want to see anything, just the digital speed, you can do that too. Let's keep it into the first gauge, and as I said, you can change more information on your driver's display. In order to do that, go into the infotainment screen, click on the third option. There you have the maintenance options. Let's say you want to see the tire pressure on your screen. It shows you show in cluster. Then it shows you on the cluster. Let's say you want to see the trip information, then show in cluster, and then it shows the trip information on your driver's display. But otherwise there's also more options like gauges, and all these options you can have it on your screen while you're driving. So you have multiple options to see a lot of displays, and you can split them up using the driver's display and the infotainment screen. Now when you come to the steering wheel, this is a leather covered half perforated steering wheel with a flat bottom, and also glossy plastic at the bottom side of it. And the steering is actually quite good to grip, and it makes driving experience a little more sporty for sure. There are also buttons given in the back, and there are buttons given on either side of the steering wheel, so it's a little bit of a busy steering wheel also. And it's also adjustable, tilt and telescopic. You can find the right position and lock it in. Now there are buttons given on the right side to change the information on the driver's display and also the voice controls and everything, and then there are buttons given in the back for the volume, and on the left side there are buttons given for the adaptive cruise control and the normal cruise control and the heated steering wheel button given on this thing. And in order to switch from the adaptive cruise control, it's fairly easy. You press the cancel button and it switches to regular cruise control, or you press again and it switches to the adaptive cruise control. And in the back again, buttons given for the track changer and everything. So yeah, there are no paddle shifters or anything, and I'm glad, because anyways this is a 9-speed automatic gearbox. Let the car figure out everything and you just sit and just enjoy driving this car. Now when you come to the air conditioning controls, you get single zone air conditioning control on this Trailblazer RS, and the controls are quite straightforward, but they are split between the infotainment screen and the button operated, right? Like you can independently operate using both the options. So let me start off with the button option. Straight on and off button. It's actually so hot today. It's 30 degrees right now on my screen, but the real feel is 40 degrees, and thank God for this air conditioning because it cools pretty well. Yeah, the summers do get really hot in here in Toronto. So yes, let's continue with the air conditioning. As I said, on and off button, and then on the left side the dial to change the temperature, right side to change the fan speed, more buttons in the center for changing the flow of air, and also the recirculation of air button given on the right hand side dial. So those are your button operated air conditioning controls, and at the bottom of that there are buttons given for the heated seats. So the driver and the passenger side seats are both the heated seats, and in order to change the air conditioning controls from the infotainment screen, there is climate option. Press that. Same options on left side to change the temperature, and then on top the fan speed, then the flow of air, auto, recirculation of air, or you can just switch off the air conditioning controls. I'm guessing that when you're driving, then if you want to access the climate control quickly without looking down, then you can press on this infotainment screen and change the different settings. And I don't mind, because as long as there is physical dials to control the air conditioning system, I'm okay with having a split options, and this is much more sensible option than completely giving like a touch screen options on some of the modern cars that you find these days. Now when you come to the infotainment screen, there is an 11-inch colorful display. In terms of the operations, it's pretty straightforward. So on your screen you would find options for Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, which is the wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay connectivity. You can even long press and change the options on your screen, rearrange them however you want. Then the climate control option, then the detail settings options, where there is a system option, date, language, phones, Wi-Fi, privacy units, updates and all of that. Then there is the vehicle option, where there is a teen driver option, so that it's to limit some of the features on the car so that the teenagers make good driving decisions. Then there is rear seat reminder, climate control, lighting, doors, comfort and convenience. Then the app options, audio, phone and OnStar. And also this car comes with the OnStar facility, so there is a 3-year package given with this car, which also includes the data package and everything. So OnStar is a facility to ask anything from the car, so it connects you to one of their service stations, where they will help you out with any medical emergency, if you want to find anything around you in terms of your point of interest, like a restaurant or a petrol station. So all of that you can call and ask someone to guide you, because it sends all your coordinates directly to them. Then on top there is the media option. On the left side there are these buttons given. There are sources on the inside. There is Sirius XM complimentary package for 3 months. Then the next option is your phone when it is connected. Then these options to see the maintenance gauges and trip, all your vehicle information. Then the home button, and you can press that bell icon on the top. You can even subscribe to this channel by clicking that red subscription button and pressing this bell icon. You will see the two and leave all the notifications on. Then there is this date option. You press that, you can change the date option. There's also a physical volume dial given closer to the driver side, but there is also buttons given on the steering wheel, so most likely you're going to be using those than that dial, but nonetheless it's good to have that option as well. So yeah, that's your infotainment screen. There are also these slidable and extendable sun visors, very handy because these doors are quite tall and long, so blocks a lot of sunlight. There's also SOS button and also the OnStar button. And on this Trailblazer RS, there is optional panoramic sunroof given on this thing. There are lots of optional extras given on this Trailblazer. I'm going to put the exact list on your screen right now to see what's what, so that I don't miss out on what's given extra on this Trailblazer RS. And there are also 7-speaker Bose music system given on this thing, and actually it sounds pretty fabulous. It's worthy of an optional extra because this is an optional extra on this RS variant, so make sure you tick on that one because yeah, they actually sound well, especially if you're stuck in traffic. Yeah, that's gonna help you a lot. Now in terms of the charging, there are 2 USB ports, one type C and one normal, along with a 12-volt power socket given in the front, and there is also a wireless charger that is given underneath the air conditioning controls. And for the rear passengers, there are 2 USB ports, one normal and one type C, along with a plug point. Now there are more buttons given in front of this gear shifter, but first let me come to the gear shifter, because as I mentioned, this handrest is a little on the higher side, which is why I find it a little difficult to reach out to this gear shifter. But yeah, once you get used to it, it becomes all right, and this gear shifter is quite easy to operate. There are also these plus and minus buttons, so you put the car in the L mode and then you can select the gears you want this car to go into, like only up to second gear or third gear. So it is more for off-roading. If you go like mild off-roading, then you can decide what gear the car should be in maximum to utilize more power and torque. Now as I said, there are more buttons given in front of the gear shifter, so those buttons are for the engine start stop and the lane keep assist, traction control. Then there is the checkered flag, which is the sport mode button, and all-wheel drive, so you can disengage or engage the all-wheel drive on this Trailblazer RS, and it's better to drive it in two-wheel drive most of the times inside the city because it's much more efficient. Now when you come to the storage, there is decent amount of storage on this Trailblazer RS variant. So in the door cards, easily put 1.5 liter water bottle and some more storage on the sides. There is another storage on the left side in the dashboard to put your maybe wallets or cards. There is this wireless charger where you can put your phones and wallets. There are these 2 normal cup holders with a slot for your phone. Then there is this glove box, which is very big that way. There is also the storage on the passenger side doors. There is storage in the back of these cup holders to put your keys, phones, wallets. Then this handrest, which has a tray inside of it. You remove that tray and there is like decent amount of storage underneath that, so if you want to hide some of your stuff. And in the rear door cards, you can put about 1 liter worth of bottle, and there is a center handrest in which there are 2 flexible cup holders. Now on this RS variant of the Trailblazer, there are these black color leather seats with the red color stitching and red piping on the sides, and there is also a bit of fabric given on the side of the seats, but yeah, that's just about it. But more like these are the leather seats. They are like perforated on the sides, on the edges, but these are just the heated seats. And in terms of the comfort, I find them to be on slightly harder side, even though they seem to be quite squidgy, but still when you sit inside them, yeah, it makes me feel, yeah, it needs a little bit of softness. But I get it because this is much like a sporty variant, which is why the seats are something like this. They are more body hugging and much more sporty in that sense. There are these 2 headrests with the RS badging, and there is decent amount of side support, and at the bottom, yes, there is good amount of support, but underneath my thigh, yes, there is ample of support. So during longer journeys, it's going to be quite comfortable to sit in the seat. And in terms of the adjustability, the driver side seat is 8-way electronically adjustable and 2-way lumbar adjustment, whereas the passenger side seat is just manually adjustable. Now for a compact SUV, there is decent amount of room for the rear passengers. So in terms of the knee room, there is half palm worth of knee room in here. These seats also have a bit of curve, so that gives you an extra bit of knee room here. Head space is decent, although someone above 6 feet will start brushing their heads. Someone above 6 feet, yeah, 1-2 inches definitely will hit the roof in the back. You can even slide your legs under the seat, plenty of room for that, so longer journeys are going to be comfortable. And when it comes to these seats, these are the black color leather seats and perforated on the sides, and you actually sit quite low down into these seats, but somehow there is good amount of support underneath my thigh is what I can say. When you stretch your legs, actually, yeah, there is decent amount of support, like proper amount of support underneath your thigh. And the seats, in terms of the hardness, they are slightly firm again, I would say. I wish they were slightly more on the softer side. And the backrest, that's decent. Even the bottom bit is decent. They are more on the bench type of setup. There is also a bit of a tunnel given out here, and if you are in the middle, although there are only two headrests given, so for the middle passenger there is no headrest, and once you sit in the middle, the bottom bit is actually quite soft, but the backrest has a bit of a bulge, so that's the only thing. And there is also a handrest that houses two flexible cup holders, and these cup holders are right in the front, so when you put up the cups here, you can't really use this handrest because you have to put your hand in the back, or there is not much space that way. In terms of the door card quality, it's plastic door cards pretty much everywhere where you're going to be resting hands. That's just slightly soft, but yes, nearly plastic everywhere. In terms of the storage, 1 liter worth of storage. There are pocket storage given in the driver and the passenger side seats. There is this handrest, and look, these rear windows go down completely. Not many cars do that also these days. And in terms of the charging, as I said, 2 USB ports and a plug point, and there are no rear air conditioning vents given on this thing, but luckily the air conditioning works very well, so that's one good thing. So it's gonna cool the car quite properly and keep the rear passengers also quite chilled. And the dashboard, I forgot to mention, was that the dashboard is also aligned a little bit towards the driver's side. All the air conditioning controls, the infotainment screen and everything, that is angled towards the driver. But anyways, let's go into the driver's seat and go for a drive. So this 2024 Trailblazer RS comes with a 1.3 liter 3-cylinder turbocharged engine that produces 155 horsepower and 174 pound-foot of torque, and this engine is mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission that sends the power to all the wheels via an all-wheel drive system, which is a selectable all-wheel drive. You can switch it to 2-wheel drive also. So let me first come to the engine and the gearbox, and as I said, there's also a 1.2 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine with a CVT transmission available for the base variants, which are the LS and the LT front wheel drive variants only. So coming to this one, so in terms of the engine response, it can be a bit slow, mainly for the fact that this is a turbocharged engine, and it's very erratic also sometimes. Like if you want to accelerate, it takes a second to just respond to that, and also the throttle pedal is also mapped in a way that there is a bit of a lag also from that side. And not just that, even the gearbox can be a bit hesitant to shift down that way. It shifts smoothly all of the time, but it's just that shifting down takes a little while. But yes, the engine and the gearbox can be bit sluggish, I would say, and the power delivery is not very smooth in terms of the power band. When it comes to the economy from this engine, so in terms of the daily driving, if you are using it within the city, you would get anywhere between 8.5 to 9 liters per 100 kilometers, whereas if you are to go on a longer journeys on highways, then this would deliver around 8 to 8.5 liters per 100 kilometers, which is what I would expect from this engine, which is tiny yet efficient. So numbers are pretty good for everyday usage. Now when it comes to the steering, so it's an electronic steering, but the response from that is again a bit loose, and it lags a little bit of feedback, and it's very light at lower speeds. And it's got a little bit of, you see that play, there is a bit of a play also, so that zones on either side. But as you speed up, it becomes progressively firmer, but yes, it still is very light in general, which is what I find, and it's quite vague also at lower speeds, because I've failed to sort of judge that how much turning this thing would need some of the times. But the turning radius is quite small, it's very small, like a hatchback on this Trailblazer RS. Now when it comes to the suspensions, again, that's also one thing which is a bit firm, and in order to make this thing sporty, that's why they made the suspensions a little bit firmer. I get it, but then that has compromised the ride quality slightly, I would say, because yes, some of the bumps, when they are like quite deep ones and bigger ones, they go straight through your seats and into your back. It takes a little while to soak up these bumps that way. So on that sense, this is a bit firmer. And again, the active variant has an off-road suspension, so that will be slightly different compared to the RS variant of the Trailblazer. Now when it comes to the noise and the vibrations, the engine can get a little bit noisy sometimes, especially when you hard accelerate. And it's also that the acceleration takes a little while, because the turbo needs to build up those revs, and then it would just push in more air, and then it would start delivering the power. So you have to be at a certain RPM levels, around 2000. That's when you will immediately get the response from the engine. But otherwise, if you want to suddenly accelerate, or maybe if you're in a traffic and you want to accelerate, then give this engine a little bit of time to move out from that situation. But overall, there is also tire noise, which is also quite evident. There is certain amount of wind whooshing when it's a very windy day, but on normal days it's all right. At higher speeds, it gets a bit more whooshy inside this cabin. And when you come to the brakes, there are 4-disc brakes on this Trailblazer RS, and the performance from that is pretty good. The pedal setup is pretty progressive, and I like how it's been given. You can fairly judge the amount of pressure you want to apply on these brakes and get the response from that. Now when it comes to the safety systems, there are 10 airbags given on this Trailblazer RS, 2 for the front driver and the passenger, 2 side airbags for the front driver and the passenger, and also in the rear seats on either side. There is also 2 airbags given in the frames. There is also 2 airbags, knee airbags, given for the driver and the passenger. There is also a single camera reversing system, HD camera, and the output from that, I like it. It's very good and it's smooth, and the picture quality is what matters, clubbed with this amazing screen. Yes, the output is very good for this car. There is also child isofix points in both the rear seats. Then there is also ABS, there is the emergency braking system, there is the pedestrian warning in the front and the back. Then there is also tire pressure monitoring system. Then there is also forward collision warning, lane keep assist, lane departure warning, the adaptive cruise control, which is optional extra, blind spot warning. So this car is also loaded with enough of safety systems. When it comes to the pricing, so that's where things get little interesting. So the base variant, which is the LS front wheel drive, comes in at 29,500 Canadian dollars, which is approximate, whereas the RS variant, which is this one without any optional extras, comes in at 32,999. So this is exactly like 33,000 Canadian dollars, and this is without any taxes or additional charges based on the provinces. And with the optional extras, this thing goes to nearly 40,000 Canadian dollars. So I get it, that's a lot of money for a compact SUV, but this car is a jack of all. So it's got everything that you want, especially if it's a fully loaded car. There is a lot of features, and it's feature rich car in that sense, and it's one of the good looking cars in the segment. It's got good amount of interior space, especially in the front. There is ample of space. It doesn't make you feel like you are driving a small SUV. If you are someone who's just looking for a daily driving, then the LS or the LT variant with the all-wheel drive is the best one, because the all-wheel drive, let's say, it's not gonna be like able to do like heavy trails, but it will be good enough for the snow driving if you plan to take this car during winter. So it's for that, and it will serve you well as an all-wheel drive in that sense. So go for the LT all-wheel drive system, which comes in around 31,500 Canadian dollars. Whereas if you want a loaded car which looks sporty, then yes, the RS variant, which comes in for 33,000 Canadian dollars, is something that should tempt you. But yes, if you want a more off-road version, then the ACTIV variant is what you should be looking at, because it's got skid plate and thicker tires, broader tires, and suspensions that go with it. That will take a lot more off-roading bits, but not exactly very heavy off-roading also. So yes, there's a lot of mix and match that you can check based on your requirements, what you want from this car. But it's definitely a good car in the segment, because as I've been mentioning before also, there are very limited cars these days that are not exactly very expensive to own, especially these compact SUVs. So make sure to give this car a check to see which one fits your requirements. Anyways, that is pretty much it for this video. Give this video a thumbs up, and thank you for watching this video. If you want to subscribe to my channel, then you can click here, and if you want to watch more videos, then click here. I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye, take care, and drive safe.